I'm glad you're here. Today we're doing a reading wrap up of all the books I read this year. If you see me looking to the side, it's because I have my computer. Let's get into the statistic. In 2024, I read 65 books, which are all behind me, which we will go through. I read 25,808 pages, which is crazy. The shortest book I read was The Family Across the Street, which was 247 pages, and the longest book I read was A Court of Silver Flames, which was 757 pages. My average book length was 397. The most shelved book I read was It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. The least shelved book I read was After the Fire, which was only shelved by 1,743 people. My average rating for 2024 was 3.6 stars, and the highest rated book I read on Goodreads was A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. None of these books are in any particular order, just the order that I threw them on here. The first book we have is An Offer from a Gentleman by Julia Quinn. I ended up giving this book a 4-star. It is like a Cinderella retelling. I feel like this book got a higher rating because I absolutely love the Bridgerton series on Netflix. I read this in like a singular night. I was so entranced by the story. Was it the best? No. I can clearly say that, but I did really enjoy this book. The next book we have is To Sir Philip with Love, also by Julia Quinn, also a Bridgerton book. I ended up giving this one a 3-star. This one is about Eloise, which was one of my favorite characters in the TV series, so I'm a little disappointed about her book. The next book we have is The Paris Widow by Kimberly Bell. I ended up giving this book a 4-star. I thought it was interesting enough where it like kept me on my toes and I was like so confused what was happening. But also I feel like this was more of like, it was like a crime book, but it gave me more like spy vibes. You know what I mean? So that's this book. Next, we have You Seen Her by Catherine Mackenzie. I ended up giving this book a 2-star. I didn't enjoy it as much as I thought I would. I loved the cover, but that was about it. I feel like it left me on a cliffhanger, and I don't think there's a second book to this. It was going through like multiple people's point of view, and I feel like they did all mesh together in the end. I just didn't enjoy this book as much. Also, maybe because it took place in the wilderness, and I don't like the wilderness. She was like a ranger person. I don't even know. But it wasn't that bad of a book. I just didn't personally enjoy it. Next, we have Look What You Made Me Do by Elaine Murphy. I ended up giving this book a 3-star. I do like the idea. It is about a serial killer, or two. I don't want to spoil it, but yeah, it was interesting concept, which I think I liked, but I think I liked the introduction to the book a little bit more than like the rest of the book. Next, we have Right Behind You by Lisa Gardner. I also gave this book a 2-star. I didn't enjoy it. I also don't think I'm really the target audience for this one. This one felt more of like a teen murder mystery to me, just because some of the characters in the book were a little bit younger, so I didn't quite enjoy it too much. Next, we have How to Survive Your Murder by Danielle Valentine. I ended up giving this book a 3-star. I thought it was quite interesting. It was like a Halloween murder mystery. I thought there were some good ideas in this book that I thought were very interesting, except they didn't explain too much about it. I feel like this book also kind of left me on a cliffhanger. Or not necessarily a cliffhanger, but it left me with a lot of questions that were unanswered, which I didn't personally enjoy. Next up, we have Bride by Ali Hazelwood. I ended up giving this book a 4-star. This gave me Wattpad books I used to read in like 3rd grade, and I was here for it. So this brought me back. And I know there was a bunch of plot holes. It wasn't the best book, but I enjoyed it. Next, we have The Duke and I by Julia Quinn. I gave this book a 3-star. This was my least favorite Bridgerton book, and I feel like it's just because of like how everyone makes Daphne seem like a great person and him out to be a bad guy when she's kind of like the villain, to be honest. So I didn't enjoy this that much. Next, we have The Family Across the Street by Nicole Trope. This was the shortest book I read this year. I ended up giving it a 5 stars just because I thought something else was gonna happen. I thought someone else was the person doing all these things, and they weren't. I also loved the fact that it was just like about a bunch of nosy people, and I was like, I feel so represented in a book. So it was a 5 star. Next, we have Happily Ever After by Lynn Painter. I ended up giving this book a 3 stars. I think the concept was really good. I've never read a book about people who object at weddings. I thought the idea of this book was there. I just also think it was just too short for me to fall in love with the characters falling in love. Next up, we have Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. Read this closer to the end of the year. Everyone loves this book. And I read it and I see why. I also give this book a 5 star. I think I just prefer fantasy books and the idea of everything being new and you having to explain things to me and these complicated worlds and stuff like that. So I feel like fantasy books get a higher rating from me. This book is a 5 star. Just because I love dogs and the fact that I have German Shepherds and there's a German Shepherd in it, it also is so sad. I love the movie. The movie is one of my favorite movies. Makes me cry every single time. I feel like if you are a dog lover, this is a must read. Next, we have A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. This book was also a 5 star for me. I loved it. I thought it was interesting. Obviously, there are a bunch of books about like kids solving murders and stuff. This one I think was really good. Also, I feel like I wasn't really the target demographic, but I still loved it. Next, we have The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. I also gave this book a 5 star. It is it is a fantasy book and I thought it was interesting enough. I also like how the titles of the series correspond with the book. You know what I mean? Like I was kind of guessing on the same path of like vaguely what was happening, so I enjoyed that the titles related to the book somehow instead of having a random title that has nothing to do with the book and it's just a pretty title. Then the book that was least shelved this year on Goodreads, we have After the Fire by Robin Gabby Fisher. This is based on a true story and it is heartbreaking. It is so sad and I gave it a 5 star. I love this book. It is so good. If there's one book in this haul that you're like, oh my god, like that's an underrated book, I so need to read that, this one, After the Fire. First book up, we have A Court of Silver Flames by Sarah J. Maas. This book was obviously a 5 stars. I love the ACOTAR series. Every single book. Loved them, ate them up. Next we have A Court of Frost and Starlight, also by Sarah J. Maas. This is also an amazing book, also 5 star. Next up, we have Legendary Finale and Carval by Stephanie Garber. These are all 5 star books. I loved it. These books felt like a fever dream. I genuinely never had any idea what was going on, but I loved them. They were the best. Next, we have It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover, the most shelved book on Goodreads this year that I read. I gave this book a 1 star. I didn't like it. I personally felt like the character of Lily was just so obnoxious. I didn't like her. So I didn't feel like rooting for her throughout the book because it was like, oh my god, you're kind of awful. I don't like you. Next up, we have Flowers in the Attic and Petals on the Wind by V.C. Andrews. Flowers in the Attic, 5 star book for me. Petals in the Wind was a 4 star book. This book is like so twisted, so heartbreaking, so sad, but I loved it. The next book I have is A Court of Thorns and Roses. This is probably my favorite book I read this year, mostly because it's the book that got me into reading again this year that I was so excited to read. Love this book, 5 stars. Then we have Wreck My Plans by Jillian Meadows. This was a 2 star book for me. I didn't like it. I didn't like the fact that they both loved each other. Like there was no real conflict that they had to like overcome. It was kind of just I like you like me, you don't want to tell me, I don't want to tell you. And it was very much like middle school love. Next, we have Window Shopping by Tessa Bailey. This is also another 2 star. I guess I really wasn't feeling the Christmas romances as much as I wanted to read them. This book, I feel like, was really short. I didn't fall in love with the characters. I also didn't like the characters together. He's like very happy sunshine. She's very like grumpy. She's supposed to be grumpy, but I feel like she's not that bad. So I didn't enjoy this book. Next, we have Christmas is All Around by Martha Waters. This was a 3 star book for me. I didn't hate it as much as I thought, but what I thought was gonna happen didn't happen, and that kind of made me mad. So it's a 3 star book. Next, we have The Holiday Switch by Julia McKay. This is also another 3 star book for me. I didn't enjoy it that much. I think it took too long to introduce the love interests, and there was like something about a wedding breaking up, like whatever. I wasn't interested in it. Next up, we have The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I love this book. It is a 5-star book. I will never forget the twist in this book because I don't read the back of books, so I had no idea what this book was about. I thought she was gonna off all her husbands. I thought she was gonna be like a serial killer. She wasn't. It was the biggest twist for me, mainly because I didn't read the back. But it was such a big twist that I will never forget this book. Also, the entire time, I thought Evelyn Hugo was a real person. Like, the way Taylor Jenkins writes, I thought she was a real person. I was searching, is Evelyn Hugo a real person? No, she is not, but the way she is written makes you feel like she is. Then we have The Viscount Who Loved Me by Julia Quinn. This is a 3-star book for me. This story is my favorite season of the series on Netflix. I didn't enjoy the book that much, but it wasn't awful. And on the same note, we have Romancing Mr. Bridgerton. This is also a 3-star. I didn't enjoy it as much. Also, this book is tiny compared to the other ones. Also, hated the series. Hated this season of the series. It wasn't supposed to happen next. And I feel like they're just cramming so much stuff into one season, even though, like, I know as a viewer, I would gladly eat up a season solely dedicated to everyone's love life. On the same note, we have When He Was Wicked from the Bridgerton series. This was a 3-star for me. I didn't really like it that much. I'm also fearful for this season because if you watch the series and read the books, you know they changed the character's gender, and I don't know where it's going, but I did actually like this story. I thought it was cute. Wasn't my favorite though. Then we have It's in His Kiss from Bridgerton. I give this one a 4-star. This one was the most interesting. They kind of there's like kind of little things about each story that correlate with each other that it made it feel like I was reading the same story. This one was a little bit different. They had like a jewelry heist or something like that. It was quite interesting. Next, we have Court of Winds and Ruin by Sarah J. Maas. This is obviously a 5-star. Love this book. Next, we have The Wicked King and the Queen of Nothing, also by Holly Black. These were both 5-star books for me. I really love them. They're a good starter fantasy read for you to read. Next up, we have Good Girl, Bad Blood and As Good as Dead, also by Holly Jackson. I gave these both 5 stars for the same reason I gave Good Girl's Guide to Murder 5 stars. If There Be Thorns and Seeds of Yesterday by V.C. Andrews. If There Be Thorns was a 4-star book for me, and Seeds of Yesterday was a 3-star book for me. Stop. I was looking at this book and I was like, did I even read this? Yes, I did. This is The Love of My Afterlife by Christy Greenwood. I ended up giving this book a 3 stars. I didn't like it as much. I also thought the main character was a little weird when she gets sent on a little quest, so I didn't like it that much. Next, we have Out on a Limb by Hannah Bonham Young. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce it. Sorry if I mispronounced that. This book is also a 3-star for me. The cover is super cute. I think I like the other cover better, to be honest. Next, we have Fangirl Down by Tessa Bailey. I gave this book a 3-star. It was gonna be a 4-star until like a certain point of the book, and I was like, oh, I don't want to read about that. So, if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't, oh well. I thought it was interesting. I also thought this book was about baseball, and Alien Fact is about golf. So, but to be honest, for a golf book, I thought it was really good. Next, we have The Summer I Turned Pretty by Jenny Han. I gave this a 2-star. I hated this. I like the Prime series, not so much this. This was not it. I feel like the main character, Belly, although she's annoying in the Prime series too, she was even more annoying in the book. And I was like, oh, didn't like you that much before, but now I really don't like you. Next, we have The Catch by Amy Lee. This is also a 3-star book. I don't really like it that much. She's like a social media influencer, and he is like a fisherman. I don't know. I had such a hard time reading this book. Like, I couldn't convince myself to pick it up. So, not my favorite. Next up, we have Collide by Bal Kabara, I believe. If I pronounced that wrong, I'm sorry. This was a 4-star book for me. I did like it. I think I liked the writing more than I liked the actual concept. But it was a hockey book. I feel like I like the hockey books. I feel like I don't really like the hockey books as much, but I like them. And I think it's because I like the covers. Then we have Stay by Elle Kennedy and Serena Bowen. I gave this book a 3 stars. I didn't really like it, but I thought it was interesting that it was like co-written by 2 people. I couldn't really tell the difference between their writing, but I didn't really like the book. Next, we have Body Check by Elle Kennedy. I did not like this book. I gave this book a 2 stars. I think I didn't like it because the only thing about their relationship where you're like, okay, that's why they like each other is because they were having sex. That was literally it. Like, there was nothing else to their relationship, and I didn't really like that. Next, we have The Au Pair Affair by Tessa Bailey. I gave this a 3 star. This gave me like Wattpad girly vibes. Alrighty, next we have A Girl in Pieces by Kathleen Glasgow. I gave this book a 3 stars. I don't know, it was very chaotic. I didn't really like it, but I love the cover. Then we also have You'd Be Home Now by the same author. This is also a 3 star. I read this in a day, not on purpose, but I do love the cover. The story, though, not my favorite. Next, we have A Man Downstairs by Nicole Lundrigan. Sorry if I mispronounced that. This was a 4-star book. I thought it was interesting. I love when like murder mysteries have like different point of views, so I did like this book. Then we have Perfect Remains by Helen Fields. This was a 3-star book for me. I got it because there was a butterfly on the cover, obviously. Why else would I buy this book? But I thought one of the side criminal things was a little bit more interesting than the actual story. Next, we have Truly Madly Deeply by Alexandria Belfour, I believe. Sorry if I mispronounced that. This is a 3-star book for me. I didn't really like it. It also had like a lot of theater kind of things, so I feel like I didn't enjoy that as much. Next, we have It Starts With Us by Colleen Hoover. This is a 1-star book. I didn't like the characters in the last book. I didn't like them in this book. Not my favorite book. Next, we have Icebreaker by Hannah Grace. I gave this book a 3 star. The story just wasn't enough for me. Next, we have On the Way to the Wedding, another Bridgerton book by Julia Quinn. This was a 3 star for me. It was the last book I read. I was so excited to finish, but it kind of fell short as like an end spectacular book for me. Then, of course, we have A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. This is also a 5-star book, no explanation needed. Next, we have The Mirror Man by Lars Kelper. This was a 3-star book for me. It was I believe, the first book I read this year. I thought it was interesting, but it wasn't interesting enough. Next up, we have My Canadian Boyfriend by Jenny Holiday. This was a 4-star book for me. I think it's because I read it early on, though. But yeah, it was a cute little romance. Then we have The Dixon Rule by Elle Kennedy. This is a 3-star book for me. I didn't enjoy it that much. Then we have Delia Suits Up by Amanda Exel? Not sure how you pronounce that, but forgive me. This was a 3-star book. It was a book about like feminism, I believe. It was an interesting concept, but I just think it fell short for me. Next we have She Started It by Cian Gilbert. Forgive me if I pronounce that wrong. This was a 4-star book for me. I don't think it was very good, but I think it reminded me of the guest list, and that's why I liked it. I also thought their bickering was pretty entertaining. And the last book on our list is Signed, Sealed, Dead by Cynthia Murphy. This was a 3-star book for me. I don't think I was the target demographic. It was interesting enough, and it did have me like on the edge of my seat. These are all 65 of the books I read this year. My goal was to read 60 books. So I think this upcoming year, I'm going to try and read 70 books. To be honest, I thought with 60, I was like really pushing it. But it wasn't that bad. I think I read around 6 books each month, which was really good. And I think we can get to 70 next year. So that is my reading wrapped up for 2024. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed this video, feel free to leave a like and comment down below. If you didn't, feel free to leave a hate comment. I'd love to hear your opinion, and I will see you guys tomorrow.